Ooh, what's up, tribe? Thank you for being here and welcome to my channel. This post is titled The Ways, and it came just after a post titled The Ancestors. And as it's related to it, I would recommend you read or listen to that post first. And you'll find the link to Matias de Stefano's channel in the description box. Or you can find it in my channel in Matias de Stefano's Educations playlist. That being said, let's get started. As usual, I'd be referring to Matias as me and his higher self as I am. Me. Yesterday we talked about how all the paths traveled by the ancestors unite in me as destiny. Who will draw a new destiny? You said that you are the last destiny. What do you mean with that? I am. Basically, all paths lead to me. No matter how many there are or how far away from each other, they will all return to the center because everyone in their infinite outer search will one day reach the inner search. And the only one, the answer to all your questions will be, I am. All the roads lead to Rome. All the roads lead to God. All eyes lead from the Am. For this, I am the last destination. Me, the information about my destinations is on my feet. Why? I am. Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. This ancient tradition is not of the Messiah, but something much earlier, in which students, unlike now, were not received from their priesthood studies or doctrines and doctorates through a diploma, but through the washing of the feet of their teachers. This meant that during his life, they had gone through a long journey of tests and learning, and that all of them had been passed. Therefore, the Master was preparing to clean the feet of all that has been traveled and lived, so that they could now walk a path of wisdom. In a way, it was the way the students went on the path of mastery, a symbol of starting a new path, initiation. Me. So in the feet lie all things that we have lived, all things that we as individuals have done. I am. As we talked about yesterday, there are two ways by which you inherit everything that makes you who you are today. One through biology and the other through energy. The path of biology is that of the family tree. Thousands and thousands of fine and distant roots absorb the nutrients that are uniting in increasingly thick roots until they reach the last two that generate the trunk, which is you. And from you arise the branches that will be your children or projects, and which will continue to branch until the farthest and small twigs, where you will find the leaves. The image of the tree shows very well the biological path in which those of the past deliver the nutrients that you will balance in order to give them to your future generations as tools. And these tools will allow those of the future in the leaves to absorb the light and return this light to the root in form of clarity. The future gives consciousness to the voices of the past, and the past gives tools to the eyes of the future. You are the nexus. Thus, you will understand one thing. Neither the trunk nor the roots nor the branches are separate beings. They are the same living being that expands in time and space, changing its forms, fulfilling different roles. That said, you can understand that your ancestors and descendants are not other people, but are yourself in different expressions. We call this biological past and future lives. Their memories live in you. Everything you are and the potentiality of what you will be. Thus, a conflict in your roots is in turn a conflict for the whole tree. Thus, a conflict in your roots is in turn a conflict for the whole tree. Fixing it doesn't remove the root, nor does it free you from your grief. Solving the griefs of the past is functional to the present and the future in a practical way because it gives you tools to walk your way. It is information that is registered in the DNA through the mechanical, repetitive actions, emotions, intentions that each person performs and feels and passes as nutrients to the following generations. Everyone then lives in you. Me. And the energy path? I am. That is what you usually call the path of the soul. Alma comes from the Latin word anima, which means to move. That is, an animated object. Thus was born the concept of the animal kingdom, that is, of creatures that move. Therefore, everything that is in motion and capable of controlling its own movement is considered to be a being with a soul. And the truth is that movement is produced by a reaction and electrical pulses generated by positive and negative energy. Thus, the soul is actually energy, and energy is eternal. It transforms and passes from one body to another, to the environment, between dimensions, since energy is generated by electrons, and they can behave as a particle or a wave, moving without time and without space. Thus, there's also the other path that crosses your tree because it's also part of the forest, of the biosphere, of everything that exists. That is light. The tree is light because it feeds on it. Animals are light because they feed on energy produced by light. Thus, light lives and crosses all things. Energy changes kingdoms, mineral, vegetable, animal, human. It changes family trees as it crosses all trees of all spaces equally. And in it, it's the record of history of each family and group or species. You call this information past and future lives of energy. That is what everyone usually knows from past lives, but if you look at nature, you'll understand that both are symbiotic because the two paths are your own life. The eternal life that many long for already exists. but you have such a narrow gaze at your egocentric existential world that you can't see it. You are all like this cell inside a kidney that thinks itself unique in the world and cannot see the kidney, much less understand that it is part of a body and even less of a world. And cells die quickly, but their energy is reabsorbed by the system, nourishing new cells that are born day by day as well. That energy, that consciousness, never left, was never lost, was integrated in a new form. You already are eternal, but your ego does not see it because it wants to be, and the ego is only one of all those that exist in the I am. When you understand the truth of your being, your ego ceases to be the eyes with which you judge existence and becomes the tool with which you develop in this stage of it. Me. So where is your own path? What we call life mission. I am a cell, a human, a being, must fulfill different stages of existence before beginning to fulfill its mission. And then, with its purpose, we will understand the steps of your path. First of all, we are going to understand something essential, which is the key to everything you must understand later. There's no purpose. Me, I've heard this several times, but it's hard to assimilate. I am. Humans live a linear life in their minds that takes them from being born to dying, and things happen in between. This has designed a psychological path in which you put a starting point and an objective. You call the objective purpose because the purpose gives meaning to everything that happens. Tell me, wouldn't it be horrible to think of an existence without purpose? Why do you do everything you do? Me. Basically, you basically just destroyed it, so I can see what it feels like. I am. You have a very strong emotional dependence on purpose. Not just you, everyone. To reach the purpose in the middle, in that things happen, we set short-term goals, which we call missions. Our mind then designs life in goals, and as we fulfill them, a new one begins. That is, we start a new path in life, but with a new mission. Being born is the first goal or mission, then walking, then talking, then having friends, then finishing kindergarten. Then the first year of study, then elementary school, then high school, then university. Each one has their own ways, but this vision of humanity makes them always live in the future instead of the present, wondering what they will do next at the end of this cycle. Me. Yes, it happens to me constantly. The why, where, what's next? I am. All that searching comes from impulse. The first stage is reactionary, that is, the first path is a quest to find food. The second is to fight for it. The third is to survive. The fourth is to adapt to new environments. The fifth is to multiply. And these 5 steps are repeated over and over again in the impulse and reaction system until culture arises in the human species. At that moment, the impulse becomes a pulse and the reaction becomes an action. The first step stops being looking for food and begins to be nurturing the spirit and the soul. The second step is no longer struggling to become integrated. The third step is no longer surviving to become in search of enlightenment. The fourth is no longer adapting to become creative. And the fifth frees us from the multiplication to seek transcendence. Thus, being cultural converts needs into missions and objectives into purposes. Now, an intelligent animal and a human being have 3 ways of seeing reality: from the subconscious, the unconscious, and the conscious. Thus, the purpose of the subconscious encompasses the need of an entire species. That of the unconscious encompasses the search for an entire group within the species, and the conscious contemplates the search for an individual within the group. This individual, in his walk, has in turn the ability to change the destiny of the other 2 unconscious and subconscious groups. This individual no longer seeks the resolution of earthly missions or the fulfillment of global purposes, but instead immerses himself on the path of spirituality. Me. It seems complex. It's a lot. I am. It is. But you don't have to. It's a choice. And there's the path of which you ask me. Me. In the election? I am. Exactly. As long as you move by the needs of your species or those of a group, your missions and purposes will be driven by reactions and momentum. But as long as you decide to stop and contemplate from consciousness, you have the ability to get out of this pendulous movement and become a creator. To be the one who pulses and operates in a new direction. Me. If I misunderstood then, all that we call the mission and purpose of our paths are mere fractals and echoes of a basic impulse, which is positive and negative energy pulsing. And when we become conscious creators, we are able to create our own purpose and missions. I am. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Or are we going to make it more complex? What came first, God or man? Me. From my point of view, the first thing was the human, because it is the human who designed the idea of God. I am. Exactly. God does not exist, even if. Me, it exists if I believe it. I am. So you are part of the Creator, creating itself. In the same way that a child is born and does not know who he is until the environment and experience give him tools to recognize himself and say I, pronounce his name and occupy a conscious space in life. The universe sees itself doing exactly the same. You don't know what God is until your neurons develop and you can look in the mirror and say, oh, I am God. Me. It's a strong concept, accepting that we are the eyes of God, recognizing who He is. I am. The mirror is half irregular. That's why there are so many visions of God. He is still trying to recognize Himself. And that's why those who look at themselves and realize that it is nothing real, but that it's oneself knowing themselves, recognizing who they are, must realize that now that they know, they can create. There's no purpose. Just as there is no God, but you, in your infinite creativity, can build a house and create an idea of God that guides you on that path until you are able to create your own path in your image and likeness. You will see the world through the eyes of your ancestors, and you will walk the steps guided by their gazes. Me, like the hamster that turns in the same wheel over and over again, I am the karma chakra, the wheel of action, literally transcribed from Sanskrit. Although in this case, the action is nothing more than a reaction. The wheel turns at such speed that we have no choice but to naturally accept what will come over and over again, repeating and observing the same thing, life after life, because jumping off the wheel implies a risk. You can get damaged, go into crisis. It is like that body that decides to exercise to lose weight, but does not stop eating flour on a daily basis. No matter how much exercise you do each morning, if at the end you eat 5 chocolate croissants, you will never see the change. I understand. It is not a question of meeting objectives. It's a question of changing habits. I am. Building your own path is to recognize the paths that were built for you and to redefine them. But for this, you must release the emotional tension from your feet, the belief that this is my destiny when it is not. Me, the strong words of there's no purpose, there's no destiny. God does not exist. Leave us a void from which the only viable option is to create God, design a destiny, and intend our purpose. I am. All the people who have asked you, how do I find my purpose? How do I discover my mission? Must first attend to the funeral of their belief about it. God is dead, as Nietzsche said, not alluding to the fact that he does not exist, but to the concept of him. I am. To find your purpose, you must build it in actions and intentions, using the tools of your tree and re-signifying them. Go to the funeral of your beliefs and expectations, and dare to be the creator and creator of this path. The first thing is to face the emotion that nonsense produces in us. Me, when I was first told that there was no purpose, I felt like my world was falling apart. Everything I do is for a purpose, which was so clear to me that when I heard those words, I felt like I was dying. I felt a void so great that it took me months to recover. I even thought about suicide, although it didn't make any sense either. Why advance something that would come anyway? At least in life, I could have fun and change my reality. But that nonsense made me believe that nothing was worth it, that it did not matter what he did. I am. And there you realized what the phrase, nothing was worth, means. For whom do you do what you do? Or did you pretend to do it? Me, for humanity. I am. Oh no, dear friend. You do not do it for humanity. You do it for the recognition of humanity. All we seek to do for others is to gain recognition for what we do. Because in a herd of mammals, being part is everything. Feeling useful makes the difference. The vision of our purposes are merely paternalistic. That is, with the unconscious and reactionary intention to make our father and mother proud. It is linear, because if there is no one who tells you when you die, you have done well, or if at the end of the purpose you turn around and there's no one to say, thank you for what you have done, or if when speaking with your higher self, as you are doing with me now, in the middle of a planetary task like yours, it tells you that there's no plan and there never was. The question you will ask yourself is, would I have done it the same? Me, it's been a year since we had the same talk. And after months of inner struggle, you know well that now I do what I do because I choose it, and not because someone asked me to. I am. We have worked for about 23 years with this, and now you see that everything is working perfectly because you no longer have expectations in your way, because now you are the creator of your own destiny. Me, stop looking for the purpose and create your own. That's what is making me fulfill the purpose of my entire tree. I am. That is what the Camino builds. So go on and wash your feet. But this time, fully aware that what you are doing is initiating yourself in the highest recognition, your own. You are the owner of your destiny, step by step. Let go of the emotion that you put on your feet, seeking to be led to fulfill a divine plan that was out of your power. Wash your feet and let them cry at the wake of your old self. And when you have shed the tears of your beliefs, begin to trace your path. Me, only I, am the one who designs and chooses the steps if I become conscious. Otherwise, I will allow everyone else to guide me in their intentions. I am. Take power from your steps and build your new path. Me, I am the way.